I was waiting for you to start going. I was like, why are you stopping?
Hello, and welcome to the Infinity Edge podcast. My name is Pikel, and I've been in the sun for about 7 hours, so my brain may or may not be functioning correctly, which explains my dismay when I look at the results from the LCS so far today, which rhymes. We have a lot of underdogs winning. In the LEC, we only had one underdog win. I did not watch those games. I was too busy standing in the sun. But basically, in this video, as we generally do, we're going to talk about the LEC and the LCS. Before we get into that, remember, if you are going to renew your subscription to the esportsdepartment.com, please consider using the promo code IEDGE, IEDGE. That helps support the fam, both figuratively and now literally. So,
Sure.
with uh with that said, Ghost and the Hef, aka some other name we still have to pick. What's going on, guys? How were your days?
Not too bad. I mean, I can't really play League of Legends DraftKings anymore, so I'm not like tilted out of my mind like Ghost seems to be. I had the in-laws over. It was great. I sweated our little LEC lineup. Didn't do anything it seems, but
Correct.
you know,
That
on
was
to
a
today.
loser.
Yeah, those Misfits boys didn't come through, and yeah, it'd be really
Neither
interesting to see if my DraftKings account is just locked for a month and see how things change
did.
after watching the first four LCS games of the day.
They're not gonna. They're gonna say you've lost too much, huh?
Basically,
Throw a limit
I
on
think that's
yourself.
I think that's pretty rare.
All right, so let's do it. Let's get into the LEC.
let's get right into it for Saturday. If you still have money after playing the LCS slate, we have Vitality 4-6 versus SK Gaming 2-8. If you missed the action on Friday, Vitality lost to Fnatic in a kind of closest game, and then we had SK beating SO4, where SK pretty much just ran them over, which is pretty surprising. A couple members of Schalke just ran it down. So we'll start with you, Michael, on this one. Vitality versus SK. Who do you got?
Okay, so let's take a look. I gotta get the scoreboard in front of me from today. So today, when Vitality played against Fnatic, it was 23-14. Vitality has a new top laner in Jigenda. Well, not a kind of a new top laner. What was once old is now new again. With
Back to the
Jigenda
future situation. Yeah.
coming back with a vengeance. He played Gwen today, which is actually a very good sign. I think that will help Selfmade a lot moving forward. When you have Jigenda playing these types of top laners plus Leader playing like the aggressive mid laners that he plays, I think that could open things up for Selfmade. Crown Shot was on Ziggs and Labrov was on Leona. I don't think that the draft was a gigantic problem in the Vitality Fnatic game. When you have a Rise that goes 8-2-10, without watching the game, I can pretty much guarantee you that there were some early game team fights that Rise got kills in that he just shouldn't be getting kills in. I personally don't love Ziggs, like swapping in a Ziggs instead of an AD carry, because it's just pretty difficult when you get to the late game situations to be a consistent Ziggs player. You need to have somewhat of a dominant early game to build up a large enough lead to play more of a positional type of League of Legends instead of a team fighting style of League of Legends with this type of draft, because you don't have an AD carry in a different position to supplement your long term physical damage in team fights. Like Yone is a pretty good champion when they're snowballing, but it's not as consistent. It's just not a very consistent champion. So that's an interesting thing to see from Vitality, which is good. And then they're up against SK Gaming. Today, SK Gaming upset Schalke, like Ghost said before. Jezu went off on Tristana. Gwen's going to be a contested pick. I think that in the bot lane we could see them just like try to swap Ziggs for Tristana or something like that. Varus was banned against Crown Shot, which is a good thing to see. That means that Vitality's been playing it in scrims most likely. I'm obviously on the Vitality side here. I don't care if SK Gaming wins. They are Sons O bitches for what they did to Tinks, and I will never support them ever. They could be the best DFS team of all time, and I would refuse to play them because that's the kind of guy I am. So I think for me, it's very easy to stay away from SK Gaming tomorrow. If Vitality loses this one, then I'll be sad.
All right. Moving on to you, Alan, for this one. Vitality versus SK. What do you got for us?
Well said. Sons of bitches sounds like a very naughty cereal.
It is. It is.
I think that I would also be on the Vitality side as far as who's gonna win this game. If you take a peek at the esports department projections, the top scoring Vitality player they have here, let's see, it is Crown Shot, and you gotta find him like 15th down the list. And I think that's because SK has been pretty bad in losses. Vitality has been pretty bad in wins as far as DFS goes. So I think this is a game you could get away with just fading altogether. If you're gonna play a side, I would definitely play the Vitality side. I definitely, if I was playing a large range of lineups, would mix in Vitality. But if I was playing less lineups, Vitality would not be the team that I would target. I think that SK's win against Schalke today was, just Schalke doing Schalke things where expectations have started to form around them, and so they gotta lose a game to the worst team in the league. I don't think that SK is like massively improved at all. Did you guys see that "I will dominate" tweet where he said, if Treats is this good in the jungle, what do you think Biofrost could have been? I thought that was actually like pretty funny. Like, usually I'm not really into the "I will dominate" stuff, but that was pretty good.
That is pretty good. I am also not into the "I will dominate" stuff. That guy freaks me out. Just something about him. Yeah. I get hardcore serial killer vibes. Just being honest.
It's just
not a fan.
Just got big eyes. I mean,
not a fan.
You can't be hating on a guy for having big eyes.
It's not the big eyes, but it's just we don't need to talk about him being a serial killer anymore. We don't need to create enemies, especially with serial killers. So I was looking at the different teams that you can combine Vitality with. So if you go from Fnatic with Fnatic and Vitality, if Vitality is your primary stack, you can get Fnatic. So you'd have to have a jungle captain, which I think Selfmade is a good jungle captain. We will get a point in time this season where a Selfmade captained lineup could be a tournament-winning lineup, especially if there are a lot of favorites winning. Vitality and Misfits, again, you can get jungle captain. Then Mad Lions, you could also get jungle captain. But there's also a very interesting 4-2-1 with the Misfits. I'm not going to give you any more information than that, but you're going to have to find that one on your own. And then once you get down to Rogue, you can play them with anything. So that's a good way to kind of think about how popular teams are going to be. When I did the duo show with John, I spent a little bit more time thinking about it from that perspective, where it's like, if you're going to play a Vitality lineup, you need to play them with these other specific teams. And since there are so many mid lineups and AD carry lineups that don't work out, and you have to go all the way down to jungle, I think that the ownership is going to be somewhat depressed. And then when you get AD carry captains and mid captains, a lot of them are going to be with Rogue. So if you pivot off onto G2, then you're going to have lower owned lineups again. And lastly, my favorite thing to do when I'm looking through like my sheet where I have a bunch of like combinations of different lineups you can run, I like looking for those like 4-2-1s and stuff where you can just barely fit two teams together and it requires a third team. So the 4-2-1 I think is pretty interesting if you're going to play Vitality.
Okay. We'll move on to our second matchup of Saturday. We have Schalke 04, 3-7 on the summer split versus Mad Lions, 6-4. Mad Lions today beat XL in a kind of low kill game, which was surprising, 15-9. And Schalke lost to SK today. So we'll start with you, Alan, on this one. Mad Lions versus Schalke. I assume it's Mad Lions all the way.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's Mad Lions all the way. I don't think you at this point in the season, if you don't know that Mad Lions is better than Schalke, you probably should quit playing League of Legends DFS, or if you're just tuning in for the moment here, I'll give it to you. I'll give you the answers to the test. Mad Lions is a lot better than Schalke. If you want to play like a Schalke lineup because Mad Lions gives up a ton of kills in their losses, I don't hate that angle, especially in like a portfolio of 20 lineups. You play like one or two Schalke. I get that, but for the most part, I would stick to the Mad Lions side here. I think once again, it just becomes, is the matchup good enough that this is the place where I really want to get into Mad Lions? And so, does one of you have the salaries up? Is Mad Lions a pretty high salary?
Yeah, Mad
tomorrow?
Lions is third in top lane, second in jungle, third mid, second AD carry, and the most expensive support, and then fourth most expensive team slot.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, like, you're basically looking at them to play combinations that are like really high upside. You're gonna have to play them with a underdog, most likely, unless you can do jungle kind of stuff. And like playing against Schalke never really gets me excited. Schalke seems to like to play like split push with Broken Blade. Broken Blade's the best player, so they're trying to get him into situations where he can win the game for them by himself, which doesn't really lead to a ton of team fights. So again, I think like if you're gonna play a side, I'm playing Mad Lions personally. But I don't think it's like a home run kind of spot at all on a favorite on the slate. So if you're looking for the home run, it's probably Schalke. But
You said I'm, and then you cut out, and now Ghost looks confused.
Yep.
But that's what happened.
Okay. If you're looking for the home run spot, I think it's Schalke, but I really don't think Schalke wins the game, is what I said. The last part of that.
Fair.
All right. Mad Lions, as we expected. Moving on to you, Michael. Mad versus Schalke. Get us moving. What's going on here?
So, I think that Schalke's draft was fine. And Mad Lions is going to continuously play the more aggressive side of things, like Callista, Draven, Varus. I think we'll see those consistently from Mad Lions. There's no reason for them to change their playstyle. They're better off drafting early game AD carries, winning that matchup bot lane, and then, just playing the rest of the map with whatever opportunities the other team gives away. So
Can I cut you for a second? Do you think that lowers the ceiling of Mad Lions as like a DraftKings team?
no, it depends on what the other teams do against it. If you're a team that thinks that you can compete with Mad Lions in the early game, then you're going to draft to go head to head with them, which is really good for DraftKings generally. But if you're a team like XL, Schalke, SK Gaming, like someone who is worse than Mad Lions, and you're looking for a way to play a different game than them, then you're probably going to want to look to outscale them. So a team like Schalke, who played Aphelios Gangplank today, they're looking to outscale teams that they think... Well, so there are multiple reasons to play scaling compositions. If you think that the team you're playing against is not good enough to beat you early, then you can play a scaling composition, outscale them, and it's fine. If you're playing a team that you know is better than you, but always plays early game team compositions, then you can try to hold on for dear life during the early game and mid game, and then outscale them and team fight well. So in a spot like this, it really comes down to, do you think Schalke is going to try to go toe-to-toe, or that they will give up the early game and draft a similar team composition to the one they did today? that's a spot where I would have to go through like all the scoreboards for the previous weeks to see what they did against the upper echelon teams, because there really is a difference between how you approach games against the top 4, top 5 teams and everyone else. Because everyone else, they're like, the teams can convince themselves that they should win or shouldn't win a game. When you're playing against the top 4, you basically know that you're not as good as them, and that's really where I enjoy watching teams kind of go off the board and try something new to kind of create a situation that they may not see as often. And you see this a lot in chess. Like, I'm not a very good chess player, but I like watching chess and like trying to understand chess. And if you're a lower rated player, and you're not expected to win the match, a lot of the times they'll try things like gambits, and they'll try things like different openings, playing outside of preparation. Like, you'll play a suboptimal move knowing that the other player may not understand why you play that move. So that's kind of what I think that Schalke will do sometimes, because they have Dylan Falco as their coach. Dylan Falco is a good coach, and he does like the economy side of League of Legends. So I would expect them to play a late game team composition against Mad Lions and try to outscale. That specifically decreases my interest in Mad Lions. But like you said, it also increases my interest in Schalke, because if Schalke is able to draft a scaling composition, Mad Lions forces some plays, fails those plays, or if Mad Lions is playing sloppy and gives an opportunity for Schalke to like punish them in an early team fight or something, like that is a good recipe for DFS. With Schalke, you're looking at a plus 217, so 30 divided by 5, 6%. What do you think about Schalke? What's their ownership going to be, like 6% or less, especially coming off of a loss against SK Gaming? I think that if you play them at 5 or 6%, I think that's good enough to give yourself GPP winning upside in like the Titans Fury, for example.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I could even go up to 10% on Schalke just because of the conditions that you just talked about, where you can find probably a solo takedown lineup if you get up into 10%.
Yeah, so if you're going to play Mad Lions as your primary stack, which is kind of not easy to do, you can't play them in the three primary positions for captain are AD carry, mid, and jungle. Most people play AD carry and jungle, and mid is kind of just like shoot away, but it will be better than jungle again, probably pretty soon. You can't play any of those primary positions with Fnatic. You can't do it with Misfits. You can sneak in one with Rogue that I'm looking at right now, which looks really nice. But again, Rogue isn't a team that we necessarily love to play. And then there's some interesting ones with G2. But it's not easy to get Mad Lions in with any of these teams. Plus, you have the negative narrative surrounding Schalke. So it's very interesting. I mean, because G2 is an underdog. You would expect them to be able to pair often with a team like Mad Lions. But out of the 59 times, out of like the about 150 lineup combinations that I have on my screen right now, you can only fit Mad Lions with G2 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 25 times. So that's going to severely depress their ownership tomorrow. That's very interesting to me. I think like if you wanted to go all in on Mad Lions for some reason, you could probably get about 35 to 40 lineups with like the other favorites that are pretty good, plus some G2 lineups. I don't think I could do that though. So that's about it.
All right. Moving on to our third game of the slate, we have Misfits 7-3 versus Astralis 4-6. Misfits unfortunately didn't get it done today versus Rogue, so Rogue remains the top team of LEC. So we'll throw it over to you, Alan, on this one. Who you got in this matchup?
Yeah, so I think that, like, once again, Misfits played a decent game against Rogue and just came up ever so slightly short, and I think that that's kind of where we expect them to be, right? Like, they're better than I think the perception is, although their record is really good at this point, so that kind of has raised them a little bit in my mind with people, not with me, because they've always been on top with me, but I think that, like, they played a pretty good game with Rogue, and Rogue just beat them because Rogue's a better team all around, and and had a better control of the macro side of the game in this one. So coming up against Astralis, that's not a team that has a good sense of the macro game, has a good control of the game, and they are also willing to do quite a bit of skirmishing. We've talked about them as a team that like knows who they are. They know that they're underdogs in basically every game they play, and so they've really embraced some volatility in early and mid games with skirmishes. That's also the situation that Misfits really thrives in, right? That like some Razork invades or some VTO ganks, something like that. So I think it's one of the best Misfit spots you're going to get. I expect them to be somewhat popular, but because what Michael was saying about G2 being a dog, I actually think G2 probably ends up the highest in teams. Because that anytime G2 is a dog, they're pretty much numero uno because you can play them in combinations that you never get to play G2 with. So that probably depresses some ownership on Misfits for me. And so then I love Misfits as like, you know, a huge part of your portfolio. Now, you know, could they play a slow macro game against Astralis because they know they're better than them? Maybe, but that doesn't really strike me as the way that Misfits usually wins. And so I would probably, you've heard me say this a couple times on the show, I would probably be basically all in the boys tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. We'll move it over to you, Michael, on this one. Misfits versus Astralis. What do you got for us?
So Misfits draft against Rogue was fine. I don't love Volibear jungle. And they played Aphelios, so they're looking for like that the late game scaling team composition with a Zoe. Zoe doesn't necessarily fit really well with Aphelios. Like it creates a lot of pressure on the map because you always have to be somewhat afraid of bubbles and stuff like that. But it just kind of signals that they wanted to play that game slow, and it didn't really work out for them. Astralis, on the other hand, went for an aggressive team composition, which I like to see. They played Renekton mid, which is like the classic, oh, we're gonna blind pick Renekton. You'll never know where we're putting Renekton. Oh, well, they counterpicked us top lane, can't put it there. Oh, well, they counterpicked us mid lane, but you know we can't put it anywhere else, so we're just gonna leave it there. So that's bad. That's really bad. But I kind of like Astralis here. Zanzara playing on Diana isn't really great. Like, he doesn't strike me as that type of player, really. But if Misfits is going to opt into a late game team composition and Astralis is going to have an early game team composition, then Astralis could be in a spot where, like, if they win the early game and have the tempo in this match, they could have difficulty closing out the match, allow Misfits to fight them like 4 or 5 times, probably 2 times more than they should, and then have a really high upside from a DFS perspective. Misfits is pretty expensive, so it's very difficult to get them in with the other good teams. Like, you can't do the primary spots. You can't pair them with Mad Lions. You can get some interesting ones with Rogue. It's funny, like, I don't know why they're letting that happen. Why is that happening? So if you do a 3-4 with Kabe as your captain, you can get a Rogue lineup. That's so weird. That's a pretty good lineup. That's the only way that I would play Misfits tomorrow, is like those interesting combinations that you wouldn't necessarily think with. You're not going to run out your traditional stacks with like a very high priced favorite plus an underdog. I think you're better off getting them as a strange combination with like a team like Rogue that you wouldn't expect. And then when you go down to G2, there are a decent number of options. So you'll probably see a lot of Misfits exposure with G2 specifically. So if you want that to be the core of your lineups, like Misfits plus G2, then you can also do Misfits plus some Rogue lineups and have lineups that are alive after that match no matter what. But I do think that you really have to heavily consider the Astralis side of this matchup, specifically because of the drafting implications. Like, I really do think that this meta right now specifically, until we get pushed into a later game meta where every team just opts into late game stuff, Astralis at 225, can you play them 5 or 6%? I think easily. Can you play them at 12%? I think that's pretty easy too. I probably wouldn't be able to get much higher than the 12%, but that seems like a good spot. That seems like a really good spot to me. So I might have to make some extra lineups. And like the thing is, I don't love a lot of these players, but just stylistically, having a team that's willing to fight early against a team like Misfits, that's the way I think that they would have to approach the game. So stylistically, I think it makes sense. When Misfits beat Astralis earlier on this year, I think it was like 15-8 or 16-8. I just had it on my screen, but I got rid of it. But that's what I would do tomorrow. I'm either playing Misfits with like Rogue or Astralis.
Sounds good. We'll move on to our fourth matchup of the day. We have Fnatic at 7-3, XL 4-6. Fnatic yesterday took down Vitality, and XL lost to the Mad Lions, which we talked about earlier. Michael, we'll start with you on this one. Fnatic versus XL. Who do you got here?
Sure, so I'm just going to run through this real quick. So Fnatic with Misfits, you can't do very easily. Fnatic with Vitality, you can't do the primary stacks for the first one. You can't do the primary stacks with the second one. You can't do it with Mad Lions, meaning you have to go down all the way to Rogue. And you cannot do it with Rogue either. But you can with G2. But you can't get many combinations with G2. So you have to play a legitimate underdog if you're playing Fnatic in one of those three main positions tomorrow, which kind of stinks. The other type of lineup that you can run with this is where you do like a 3-4 with 4 players from Fnatic. You can probably fit in some of those combinations. I don't have those in my sheet. But in this spot, we've seen XL, they're generally going to play a slower style of team composition. Their lineup today against Mad Lions shows that they can sometimes opt into the early game. Patrick on Draven specifically will be good in a lot of spots against some of these better teams who are just like not thinking during draft. And Fnatic's coach is Yamato Cannon, and Yamato Can famously doesn't think during drafts. So if we get upset put onto a late game champion, then I could see XL having some winning chances. With that being said, I think Fnatic has been very good this split. I think that even with a suboptimal draft, that they would still be able to figure it out. So I don't like XL as much as I like Astralis or G2. So it's going to be not impossible, but very unlikely that I play any XL tomorrow.
All right, moving on to you, Alan. Fnatic versus XL. What are you doing with this matchup?
Complete opposite. I think that XL has kind of turned it around. Like today's game with Mad Lions was hanging in the balance the entire time, and it wasn't because Mad Lions was playing bad. It was because XL was playing well, and it feels like Fnatic's due for a pants shitting. Today they kind of left the door open with Vitality quite a few times, and then just overextended, same old Fnatic kind of stuff. Obviously, they closed it out, but I could see this being the one where they don't.
He's breaking up. He just disconnected. If anybody knows about pants shitting, it's the dad. So take that for what it's worth. I get what he's saying, though. I think that Fnatic is obviously the better team. The one thing I would be concerned with is that if they go for like some kind of scaling team composition, then they will leave the door open for XL. So if they do that, plus Alan is right, and they have turned the corner, then you're in a good spot for DFS. But he has returned.
The curse of the Yamato cannon just hit me, I'm pretty sure. I'm looking at this, and I would think like the way that I would approach this slate is I would play Misfits and the Dogs. I think I would play Misfits with Shaka, I would play Misfits with XL, and I'd play Misfits with G2, and hope that one of those hit. That's like, a pretty narrow way to play DraftKings DFS, but I kind of like doing that.
Yeah.
Where
fine.
like, if your day if your day's gonna be bad, it's gonna be bad, you know.
Yeah.
Because when you try to cover all the, when you cover all the base, try to cover all the bases, and then your day is still bad, you're like, oh fucking hell.
Yeah.
So at least this way, I'm like, I can focus my energy into the Misfits. So yeah, I think I played Misfits and the dogs, and then hope that one of those dogs hits, because I think that kind of lineup construction is probably going to be pretty unique.
Yeah, you just pick the team from the third game of the day, and then if that goes to hell, you just go outside and lay in some grass for a while.
Is that what you did today? Is that a little peek into your day?
Yeah, almost 9 o'clock here in Madison, so yeah, I'll probably just go lay out in some grass till it starts raining again. So moving on to our fifth game of Saturday, we have a good one. Grab the popcorn. We have Rogue 8-2, G2 5-5. Rogue beat Misfits as we talked about earlier. Cap shaved his head bald to look like the Avatar, and they destroyed Astralis today. Will that energy continue to carry over against Rogue? Michael, we'll start with you.
So this is a classic spot where my brain is saying that Rogue will dominate G2. But my heart says that G2 will win. The concern that I have is that this is not a spot that I think G2 will just go insane and like give up 25 kills. I think that Rogue's upside is limited in this match unless they draft for early game, which I don't think they're going to do against G2. When you have two similarly skilled teams, I think that the best way to play is for like that mid game where you draft a little bit of early, some all-around good champions, and maybe a late game champion. But unless like the other team drafts like a hyper scaling champion, then you're not really like doomed in the late game anyways. But specifically for like a G2 versus Rogue, G2 versus Fnatic, Fnatic versus Rogue, or if they're playing Mad Lions or Misfits, like, or even Vitality, like those teams, now that we're getting into the later part of the season where the wins mean a little bit more psychologically, they don't actually mean more, but psychologically, like players care a little bit more about these matches. I think that this is going to be an underwhelming game for DFS purposes. I think this is a game that I would consider fading, unless you take one of the angles that I said earlier, where it's like get one of those unique combinations of Rogue with another favorite that you don't think should fit but actually fits. That's the only way that I would like feel obligated to play this match. Because those kinds of lineups in my mind are like, those are like the real chalk, like the real pocket aces. Like that's what you want to find, are those lineup combinations that shouldn't fit, because in the smaller field events those will generally do very well. So like I said, I do think that Rogue is the better side, like from a statistics perspective and like a form perspective, a drafting perspective. I feel like they have more options. But my heart says G2. I always play G2 in these spots because I think that nobody trusts them right now. So it's going to be G2 in my heart, and G2 is my official pick.
All right. Moving on to you, Alan, on this one. G2 versus Rogue. Will you be agreeing with Michael or not?
Yeah. I'm going to stick with the smarter than me guy who makes the projections for the esports department, and Joshua Roberts. And they have like Rogue as as G2 as a very high upside team and Rogue a very low upside team, which is really interesting because in the past you would have thought that G2 was the team you want to play against, right? But I think because of the way that Rogue probably wins this kind of game, like it really limits their upside, because if Rogue's gonna beat G2, it's gonna be playing the Rogue way, right? They're not gonna like skirmish their way to a win against G2. And so like, regardless of what I think about the game, which is like, I think it's really, really close, probably a kind of coin flip, but I do lean towards Rogue for sure, just on form and statistics, like Michael was saying. Regardless of how I feel about that, like, the difference in projection is 20 points. Like they'd have to have something really really wrong there for me to want to play Rogue tomorrow. So I think I would just play G2. Like I was saying, I think I would play G2 with Misfits and maybe some G2 with the other dogs that I was talking about, Excel and Schalke. But mostly, I think my lineup construction tomorrow would be Misfits with G2, Misfits with Schalke, Misfits with Excel, and see how that places me.
All right, sounds good. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to say about the LEC, or do you want to move on to the best region in the world, the LCS?
Let's get into the. Go ahead.
What am I looking at? So, I just didn't want to lose this train of thought, but I don't think it really matters. We can move on. But actually, before we move on, who is your favorite dog from both of you guys for the LEC?
Favorite for me is Misfits. Favorite dog, probably. I mean, G2 doesn't really count as a dog, so favorite dog is Excel.
G2 does count as a dog. Don't you say that. They're a dog.
I don't know. I also think that, like, when G2's a dog, like you were talking about how people don't trust them, I still think that, like, the ownership on G2 tomorrow is above 20%. But we'll see.
Yeah. My favorite is, and like I said, people might think that I'm trying to play both sides of this. My favorite is Rogue. I think objectively Rogue is the best like game theory play, because Rogue, who already has low ownership, now also has the uncertainty going up against G2, so they're going to be super low owned. And then I think that my favorite dog is Astralis. I think that Astralis is in a really good spot against Misfits, assuming that they approach the draft the way that I was talking about. It should be a very interesting day on DraftKings tomorrow for the LEC. I think a lot of these matchups are pretty interesting because we're finally hitting that inflection point in the season where the teams that like suck might finally admit they suck and then start having like interesting approaches to the game. I think we do see that. I don't have any statistics to back that up, but I think that we do generally see that teams get into DGAF mode, DGAF mode, and we'll kind of start approaching the game that way.
I'd probably just have to go with Misfits SK or Misfits XL, probably.
Love it.
Oh, do we want to do a bankroll for this one? I forgot about that.
We could do LCS this time since we did LEC last time, or because LCS is such a crapshoot right now, we could do LEC.
Well, is it? Do they have the salaries out already for that? Let me check. If they don't, we should do it for the LEC.
Sounds good.
They do. Okay, so we'll do the LCS. All right, I'm ready for LCS.
Moving on to the best region of the world, the most exciting region, the most unpredictable region, we have the LCS. Our first game to come out Saturday will be Golden Guardians 5-10 versus TSM 11-4. TSM on Friday, if you haven't been watching this shit show, lost to CLG, and Golden Guardians beat the 100 Thieves. Who would have thought? So you know what? We're just going to throw it over to Michael right away. Golden Guardians versus TSM. Who's winning this one?
You're right. Who would have thought? Absolutely insane. And this, so in the TSM game against CLG, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. TSM, lazy draft, picks Renekton, picks Lee Sin, like just in love with these flex champions. Lost is put onto Kai'Sa, and CLG gets Varus. Kai'Sa against Varus, Varus should win. He's not always going to win, but when you have Varus in that lane setup, you should be able to win that lane pretty easily. So you're automatically leaving the lane with like a 20 to 40 gold advantage, or a 20 to 40 CS advantage, and it's easier to shove as Varus. So you have lane priority. So if you need to go to Dragon, you'll have lane priority. If you want to shove out a wave, recall, go to the Rift Herald fight, you have lane priority. If you want to go mid to set up a Dragon push, or to set up a push for Dragon, you have lane priority. So if TSM is going to draft this way, which they've had many bad drafts this year, and like I always say, TSM can beat anybody and lose to anybody. So it really comes down to how you feel about Golden Guardians. In Golden Guardians' match against 100 Thieves, I think that they should have lost this match, not from how they played out the game. I only saw the tail end of the game, but from a drafting perspective, I think that this is a not a great draft, but 100 Thieves somehow had a worse draft, specifically with the Kai'Sa against Kalista, because again, when you pick Kalista, or when you pick Kai'Sa, if you lose the lane hard enough, she's not going to do anything. Like, I understand that it makes sense with Gnar, Nautilus, Yasuo, Diana. I love Yasuo, Diana. I think that's a great composition, and I think that this is 100 Thieves trying to show that they can do other things besides play Karma mid. This is going to be a team composition that we see during playoffs from 100 Thieves, and it is a very good team composition. It just comes down to how can they fit it in with their bot lane and how their bot lane likes to approach the game. Because if they're going to be going for something like Kai'Sa, I think that's a mistake. But with that being said, I think that Golden Guardians, with the introduction of Licorice, I do think it's an upgrade. I know that a lot of people are saying that it's just like basically the same kind of top laner, but Licorice is an upgrade, and even if he's not an upgrade, I guarantee you the players on Golden Guardians feel like it's an upgrade. It's an injection of new life, an injection of new blood. It brings, and I don't know if this is like actually the case, but it should bring morale up. You have a player who has won in North America before. That is a somewhat impactful thing for these other players. But like I said, I don't love their draft. So this is a spot where TSM had a clunker, Golden Guardians had a good win against 100 Thieves. I think that will depress TSM ownership and increase Golden Guardians ownership. I'd rather just play the TSM side, even with their god-awful drafting. Because I don't think Golden Guardians, I don't think we're guaranteed to have a good draft from Golden Guardians. So I would stick with TSM.
All right, moving on to you, Alan. Golden Guardians 5-10, TSM 11-4. Who do you got? What are you doing with this match?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think that, like, generally, I don't really believe in the like game is lost in draft kind of stuff. But this game was lost in the draft. Like, TSM, it's like, how do you kill anyone? It even like mid game, like you could kill people in the early game, but like at some point this composition just doesn't have the damage to kill anyone, and so CLG just wins the game. So I agree the draft was terrible, but that TSM is 100% better than Golden Guardians. And I think that at this point, people are going to watch LCS today and be tilted out of their minds and just be like, this is a dogs or nothing kind of league. And so I think a lot of people are going to chase dogs tomorrow because the dogs are definitely going to win the slate today. Like, I'm pretty sure the lineup that's winning right now is going to win. DL would have to go nuts, or Dignitas would have to go nuts for it to not win. And it's a double dog. So like, this is the spot where you play favorites. I know that like on this show, a lot of the times we tell people to play the favorite because they are favored to win the game. But I think that like
Can confirm.
We do also, yeah. we also look for dogs that are in good spots. But like here, there's not going to be a dog in a good spot because playing a dog in a good spot means that you're getting an ownership discount, and you know you don't have to play like 100 lineups of them to win a contest. Tomorrow, I don't think that's the case. I think like people are going to play plenty of Golden Guardians, like 7% I could see up to, and in that case, I want nothing to do with Golden Guardians, and I would like a lot of TSM as you know, just a straight hedge against that. I think it's like at this point in the LCS, to be honest, I'm kind of done trying to project which team is going to get the most kills because that seems to be just a total crapshoot right now. Like every game seems to have a lot of kills, whoever wins. So I just want to play winners, and I think TSM wins, and so I would play TSM tomorrow.
All right. Moving on to our second game of the day for Saturday, we have Team Liquid 8-7, who is on the stage right now, getting out of picks and all that good stuff. Versus the Immortals 8-7. Immortals today actually put up a fight against Evil Geniuses. Evil Geniuses rallied back with Danny on Samira, which actually looked pretty good. Got one of those ultimates and just ripped through the entire team. And Liquid should beat Dignitas? Question mark. So yeah, we'll throw it over to you, Alan, first on this one. Team Liquid versus Immortals. Who do you got? What are you doing with it?
I mean, so let's go to that question mark really quick. If Team Liquid were to lose to Dignitas today, which, you know, who knows? Today has been absolutely nuts in the LCS. Then I love Team Liquid. If Team Liquid like wins in a low kill score sort of game against Dignitas, I also love Team Liquid against Immortals. I think that Team Liquid is obviously the more talented team than Immortals. I have a pretty good feeling that they're going to beat Dignitas today in like a so-so kind of kill environment, because Alfari may be on like Gwen or something else that is sufficient in the side lane. And so in that scenario, I'm not sure how I feel about Team Liquid as like a core play tomorrow. I definitely think that they're going to win this game. I think that they're probably going to string together quite a few wins now that they've got some of the behind-the-scenes stuff handled, because they're just too talented to be like a 500 team. So if I was going to play a team, it'd probably be Team Liquid, but I think they're my least favorite tomorrow.
Okay, we'll throw it over to you, Michael. Team Liquid versus Immortals. What are you doing with this game?
So I agree. I like Team Liquid here. I'm trying to find this meme that I saw earlier today. It was from Team Liquid. They took a picture from Rick and Morty where like Rick created that like butter spreading robot, and it's like, what is my purpose? And they're like, your purpose is to spread butter. And the thing is like, oh god, and like it wants to like die. And they basically put a Team Liquid logo on that thing's face, and it was like, what's my purpose? And it's like, your purpose is to finish in 4th place. And then it said, oh god. So I mean, it's just, that's like a high quality meme right there. Alfari's back. The other video they posted the other day about Alfari like said, sorry, you know, I did some unforgivable things the past couple of weeks or whatever, and it sounded like this like super like serious video, but they're like, I just want everyone to know that I would never order Chipotle over Jersey Mike's, because Jersey Mike's is like their food sponsor or something. So like it was kind of funny but also kind of cringe, but like that's fine. They're making fun of the situation that they're in. Right now Team Liquid is playing, they have Gangplank in the top lane with Varus in the bot lane. I do like the fact they're playing Varus. I'm not sure that really helps them, because like we already know that they're a good team and they're going to win. So I'm not worried with them increasing their winning chances. I'm worried about, you know, are they going to be put into situations in these games where they're forced to get a lot of kills to win? If they are playing early game stuff, I think it would just kind of happen against Immortals. I think that would be a good thing for Team Liquid. So if Team Liquid is going to draft early game 80 carries like Varus for tactical, I do like Team Liquid tomorrow, and it would be a better spot than we would think otherwise. I don't like Immortals in this spot specifically, and I have not liked them in general, but they just made Dardoch an assistant coach for the LCS team, so I'm all in on Immortals from now on. So
there it is.
So I have finally converted to the Kangaroo bot lane. Big fan. I love how much they troll everybody now. Their coach being kind of a D-nozzle doesn't matter anymore. Not Dardoch, the other one, Gyoto or whatever. Don't like that guy, but Dardoch is there, so I do like Dardoch. So now I have to like Immortals. Interesting spot moving forward for Immortals. The question becomes like, what can Dardoch do to help a team like Immortals become a better team? I don't think that he's going to do much to a player like Xerxes, which is where I think he would have the most influence. But as time goes on, if Dardoch is able to stay a part of the organization and not kill everyone when they like mess up a good draft or something, then I'm gonna be an Immortals fan. So I think this could end up being a really good thing. When they were going through their interview with him, saying like, you're going to be a coach now, like blah blah blah. Why do you think it's going to work for them? Why do you think it's going to work for you? He was like, I'm not as invested. It's not as competitive. Like, I'm not the person putting my name on the line. It's our team. So, like, I will be trying to help the team get into the best spot possible. I think he could be good in a constructive way in that scenario. But, like, when you feel like you're the best player on your team and the rest of your team is feeding their faces off, I totally understand why he would be screaming at people and potentially physically assaulting people, which we don't condone, but I understand. The fact they lost to EG, that's the bad sign. But like I said, I don't expect them to win tomorrow. But moving forward, I will be looking for spots to. I will actively be looking for spots to play Immortals for the Dardoch narrative.
The Dardoch stuff is so like classic abuser. It's like, I'm not gonna love so hard this time. So yeah, that's yikes. That's a big yikes for me.
This Dignitas Team Liquid game might go off the rails very soon. Aphelios just got a kill in the landing phase against Varus. That is not good.
Dignitas, first blood.
Oh God, give me all the Team Liquid tomorrow. All right, let's go.
Moving on to our third game before I absolutely lose my fucking mind. We have 100 Thieves, 13-2 on the summer split, versus Evil Geniuses 9-6. 100 Thieves, as we talked about earlier, lost to the Golden Guardians in a very bad look. Evil Geniuses barely eked one out against Mortals. So, throw it over to Michael on this one. 100 Thieves versus Evil Geniuses. What are you doing with this matchup?
Yeah, what did they say about the LCS? Is it going to be what's at the Prudential Center? The
finals.
For the summer?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's in New Jersey! I live in New Jersey!
That's right.
Oh my God, I have to go. That's so amazing. I've got to go to that now. Anyways, 100 Thieves is a very good team. I know that I often don't make it sound like I appreciate how good 100 Thieves are, but I am aware of how good they are. They're definitely one of the 2 or 3 best teams in North America. Some people just want me to only say that they're the best team in North America, but I'm not going to do that. I love the fact that they went for Diana Yasuo. I think that, like I said, it shows that they're trying to expand the champions that they're playing on stage. I don't necessarily believe that you need to play it on stage in order to pull it out in the playoffs, but it's a great team composition. Like, Diana Yasuo is the core of a very, very, very good team composition. So I like that they're looking for that. I don't care that they lost to Golden Guardians. I am a little concerned about the AD carry stuff. Like, if we see 100 Thieves consistently lose the draft in bot lane, then yes, I'd be very concerned moving forward. But I'm not afraid of it tomorrow. So just play 100 Thieves. Evil Geniuses is generally a good spot. Go for it. Fine with me.
Okay. Alan, 100 Thieves, Evil Geniuses. What are you doing?
I think it's a spot where you could probably get away with playing a little bit of both sides. 100 Thieves off of a loss is probably a slightly depressed ownership, and then obviously Evil Geniuses playing against a team that's good is usually not very highly owned. So I think you could probably like play, half your lineups with 100 Thieves and then half that again and play that with Evil Geniuses, because I think that the game sets up pretty well for DraftKings purposes. Evil Geniuses has not been as bloody this split, but I think it's probably coming back. And the only concern I have about that, I suppose, is that they have kind of switched to Danny as their main carry guy, and when they were Jizuke as the main carry, that's when they died a shit ton, which makes sense, obviously, because of the way that Jizuke approaches the game. But I think it's a good enough spot that you could probably play a little bit of both, but certainly more 100 Thieves than Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, they did have Jizuke on the Lee Sin mid, and there were kind of either Jizuke and Danny not being on the same page, whereas Samira and Lee Sin were knocking characters away from each other. It was quite fun to watch if you go back and watch. But
Caught some of that in between all the babies and that stuff here today.
All right, we'll move on to our fourth matchup for Saturday. We have the team that shall not be named, Cloud9, 8-7, versus Dignitas, 6-9. Dignitas so far looking pretty good against Team Liquid. They're up 2-0, and Cloud9 lost to FlyQuest, a full-on academy team. After Fudge got 14 kills with the Kali.
Was that the real number, 14?
Yes.
That is what he ended with. while the star mid laner Perks was on Twisted Fate and split pushed the entire game and finished with a negative KDA, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Well, yeah, 3, 6, and 12. Under 3, which is generally what you want.
Yeah. So, that's how it works in the LCS. We'll throw it over to you, Michael, on this one. Cloud9 versus Dignitas. What are you doing with the matchup?
All right, so I did not watch this game. So I don't know any more than I did yesterday about the Academy team. The fact that Triple went 8-4 and 14 is nice. The fact that they picked Jhin, not nice. So
they killed your whole Jhin theory. Jin's the best ADC in the league.
Well, I mean, Jhin wasn't even the best AD carry on his own team in this game, so I'm not sure about that one. I think the Lucian was a little bit better than the Jhin. But I understand what you're saying. Good meme. Kudos to you. So Varus losing, don't like that. Shouldn't lose the Jhin matchup, in my opinion. It's a bad match from C9. Not much to say about that one. Doesn't bother me at all. Give me the C9. When a team like C9 loses, there is no way that I'm going to bet on them to lose again. I don't care what their record is. I don't care about anything like that. It's just the more talented team. I want to play the more talented team. If they're the more talented team in the match, I want to play them. So they're playing against Dignitas, which means they're the more talented team. And also, Dignitas got rid of Dardoch, so fuck them. Give me C9.
There it is.
D9
all day.
Finally, we get Pykel railing against someone on this podcast. and it had been almost 50 seconds.
Acadian 101 on the Trundle, just saying.
What a god.
Trundle's the kind of champion where if the immobile AD carries become much more popular, like Varus is relatively immobile, Aphelios relatively immobile, Kog'Maw relatively immobile, Jinx, same thing. If those champions are played more often, then we're going to get more tanks because the tanks can deal with hyper carries better, and we're also going to get Trundle because Trundle's pillar is good against the AD carry specifically, so that you have to blow flash, and Trundle is also very good against the tanks that we will see in the future meta where hyper tanks are back.
Sounds good. We'll move over to you, Alan, on this one. Cloud9 versus Dignitas. What are you doing with this crazy matchup?
Going to play the favorite, Cloud9. I think that it's just, like I've already said 1,000 times. Too many people are going to get into Double Dog tomorrow because they're tilted from today, and dogs. Dogs are dogs for a reason. Sportsbooks are generally not in the business of hanging up plus 500s and then losing on the regular with that. So I would play Cloud9, fade Dignitas altogether, and hope that other people don't.
All right. We'll move on to our fifth and final match for the LCS. We have CLG 4-11, FlyQuest 3-12. Both of these bottom teams getting wins today. CLG beat TSM and FlyQuest beat Cloud9. A battle of the soon up-and-comers with great players such as Wild Turtle, Finn, a full-on FlyQuest Academy roster that I can't remember the names of.
Well, they have Kumo, who's like one of the oldest players in LCS.
Yeah.
So
We'll get the Kumo versus Huni matchup at some point. Can't wait for that. LCS is great. Well, we'll throw it over to you, Michael. CLG versus FlyQuest. What you doing?
I don't hate Kumo. Kuma was good. Like when they played.
I actually thought Kumo was good at the end
Yeah.
of his tenure too, and I was like, why would you get rid of him now?
Yeah.
Like he was a huge problem at first.
Yeah, because the thing is like we also saw this today with FPX with the Xiao Hu or Xiao Lao Ho or whatever his name is, the new top laner for FPX. Jace when Jace is a good champion, Kumo is a good player because there are really good matchups for Jace. And if you can abuse lane hard enough, then it's just a great DFS spot. So I do like Kumo, but I think that CLG is the better team overall. I like the team compositions that CLG runs out. I feel like they do a very good job in the draft. In general, not from the perspective that they're playing optimally, but they pick with something in mind, and as long as you play to your win conditions, you can kind of live with the results. In a matchup against a team like FlyQuest, I think that we'll get CLG drafting something that is ready to fight at all stages of the game. I think that FlyQuest will do the same, and I think for that reason we're going to have a lot of DFS goodness in this spot. They ran very similar team compositions. They both had Diana today. They both had Lucian. They both had Leona. And then they went Varus Jhin. So it'll be interesting to see how the draft plays out. I think that CLG should be able to win the draft. And the one problem that I think for exists for CLG is that CLG seems like the kind of team who is willing to zag even if they don't have to. Like, if they could win the draft by, like, playing a draft that chokes out champion pools and, like, they have a lot of overlapping champions, they're more likely to go off the board and just be like, oh, well, we'll let you have all the champions you played yesterday, and we're going to try this other Wombo combo that we have. And that would kind of scare me a little bit. Not because I think their Wombo combos are bad, but just because, like, it's not optimal for drafting. Like, you're better off restricting champion pools and forcing people off of champions they want to play. So that's basically it. I like the CLG side. I know that people will want to play FlyQuest and think that FlyQuest is, like, super live and coming off of 27 kills and everything. They'll feel good about it. I'll stay away from that happily, and I'll just play CLG.
All right, moving on to you, Alan. Wrap us up here. CLG versus FlyQuest. What are you doing?
I never say this. Best CLG spot ever. The reason that FlyQuest plays Jhin in that game is because they have an AD carry who can't play other champions. Like, there's no other reason to play Jhin there. Like, it's basically just for the element of surprise against C9, and it worked. And they kind of got a lot of picks with long range Jhin stuff, and it was cheeseball, and I hated it, and I hated watching it, and I hope that they lose tomorrow. And I think that, like, CLG is going to be in a really good spot against a FlyQuest team that's probably just thrown it against the wall at this point. They're kind of like what we were talking about with the LEC with Astralis. Like, they're just going to try stuff and try unconventional stuff, which I think sets up for really good DraftKings scoring. I'm guessing that there will be a lot of people who try to play both sides of this game, which makes it I think a bad way to go. So I would just play CLG and mix them up with the other favorites. So I want CLG C9, I want CLG TSM, I want CLG TL, and I think that's a pretty good way to go. And also it helps your sweat equity as well, because it's this last game of the day, so you're gonna feel alive the whole time, unless one of these dogs wins early on with a 27 kill game, and then just then you won't hear from us again.
So are we making a lineup for your bankroll challenge?
Please.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a renewed bankroll challenge because I couldn't find the spreadsheet for the old bankroll challenge.
Well, let's just not call it a bankroll challenge, and let's just make it. This is our lineup for tomorrow. If you want to ride and die with the Infinity Edge podcast, this is what we're doing tomorrow.
This is what we're doing.
I love it. This is our lineup. I'm still trying to figure out what percentage I'm getting of this. I need to send.
Well, if you keep losing, you're going to get $0. So just enjoy the free roll while you can.
'Cause, yeah.
I think we should call this the Fuck Dignitas Dardoch is back, baby. Lineup of the day. That's what it should be.
Oh my god. You're not playing Immortals on my
I'm
single
not.
sweat, please.
I'm not.
Okay, thank God.
So
I think that means we're playing C9.
well, no.
I
So
really I like C9 CLG personally, but we can discuss.
yeah, I wasn't saying that from like we should make the team based off of that team name. I'm just saying
Oh, okay.
that's just generally how I feel.
Uh-huh.
That's just what the Roto Grinder's name is going to be at the top where you fuck Dardoch.
Yes.
Or fuck
Yeah. Wait. Whoa. Family show. Literally family show. So, so, what do you guys think? What if you could only play one team tomorrow? Who would you play? If both of you had a choice to play one team.
I like C9 tomorrow.
God. Yeah, sure. C9, CLG, or 100 Thieves. Either of those three.
Okay, so okay. I kind of want to play. Man, it's so tough trusting fucking TSM. I don't think I love the C9 spot for
What don't you love about it? Just
for the dig.
ownership kind of idea?
Well, the ownership, but also the dig stuff, because it looks like they're drafting late game. Like, I think that dig might just turn into a late game drafting team. They have the Aphelios. They pulled out Cassidon today. That scares me a little bit, because if you draft that team composition and you start falling behind, you're not going to continue to contest objectives. You're just going to be like, whatever, you take all the stuff. You want the stuff? You keep it. I don't even want the stuff. You wanted the stuff, not me. I didn't even ask for the stuff. So if
they are certainly doing that right now, aren't they?
yeah, so C9 has side selection. Everybody's been picking blue. So C9 should pick blue, meaning Dig's on red. That gives Dig the opportunity to pick a counter pick champion, which will most likely be some kind of scaling champion. So I think that scares me a little bit for C9. Obviously, I do think they're going to win the match, and if we ultimately decide that we should play C9, then that's fine. Just that's another thing that kind of scares me from them a little bit. I definitely think that we can play CLG and feel pretty good about it. So it comes down to what team do we want to pair CLG with. The thing with CLG is that they're so expensive, which is a good thing for our lineup, I think. So we'll start off. What captain do you want? Do you want to try to force a Wild Turtle captain?
Let me see what we got on the projections here. Yeah, I could go for a Wild Turtle captain. I mean, the projections have Wild Turtle and Pobelter pretty close. So if we wanted to go less chalk, we could probably do Pobelter.
I like where your head's at. Let's do the
I kind of
Pobelter.
like that.
Pobelter's cheaper too. So we'll get Pobelter, we'll get Wild Turtle, we'll get Smoothie, and then, I mean, Broxa is most likely the right answer.
I agree with that.
So we'll draft that. So we have 4 players in so far, leaving us with 5,900 in all the other spots. 100 Thieves is looking like it's gonna... it doesn't fit. You get Someday in, you get Abadage, and then you have to pick a dog to win. How else could we fix this? We could take out... take out Smoothie?
Yeah.
No.
Alright, TSM fits. I'm just throwing that out there.
Do they really?
TSM fits pretty well. You gotta go to CLG team slot. So you go Wild Turtle Smoothie CLG team slot, and then you can place TSM.
So, I don't love that. Don't love that. What if we went with Brock's a captain? Brock's a captain with Pobelter. Sunday. Man, it's close. It's tight up there. He's more expensive. Would you feel okay with the TSM one? That kind of makes me want to puke a little bit.
Yeah, I would feel fine with the dancing.
Well, then we're doing it. So we have Brock's a captain.
Well, let's check. Let's check with Ghost. How do you feel about TSM?
I plead the fifth on TSM.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, how do you feel about any favorite in the LCS? But the problem is, I feel like the favorites are the big time play from a game theory perspective tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not too worried about it. I'm fine with that.
Wait. Oh, yeah, never mind. I was wrong.
So that's what we got.
Let's do it.
CLG, TSM, and you'll have to figure out the team slot on your own. But it is a good team slot. So that's it.
All right, before we go on this awful day, let's set an over/under on dogs tomorrow between you and between Alan and Michael.
Out of the 10 matches,
We'll just do LCS since that was the shit show today.
let's do both.
Okay, we'll do both.
It's a super chalky day tomorrow, in my opinion.
Sure.
Okay, let me look at LEC.
Let's agree on an over/under number, and then I'll tell you the terms I have in mind.
Okay.
Okay. I think 2.5 probably makes sense.
I think 3.5 is a better number.
If G2 counts, sure. 3.5.
Of course they count. They are an underdog. They count.
All right, so if we get over 4, Alan wins the bet. And on Sunday's episode of The Infinity Edge, Alan and Michael will be singing the first verse of Who Let the Dogs Out by Baja Man.
Oh my god.
We'll advertise this to the Discord, and you guys can sign up for 10% off using the code IEDGE to tune in to Alan and Michael singing the very first verse of Baja Men, Who Let the Dogs Out, Who.
Wait, what's the bet?
It, isn't it? That's all of it.
What's the bet?
I don't think there's any more to the song.
What's the bet? What's the bet?
There's a lot here.
If it's over 3.5, we have to say
That's what you got.
God, man.
You sing like the first.
I kind of think we're
lines
safe.
I don't think
3 is the number. So I think G2 and 2 other LEC teams probably get upsets and LCS goes full chalk. That's what I think happens tomorrow, which is famous last words.
Yeah. That's why I thought this was going to be like, if it's over, like, we both get one side, and then one of us gets shamed. Ghost is over here trying to shame everybody.
I thought a duet would be pretty sweet, honestly. But if you wanna take a one side over and under and have one of you have to do it, that also works.
I'm fine with that. I'll take the under.
Wait.
Unless you want.
Oh God, man, this is so intense.
It's just.
Oh, how about this? How about this? Make the number 3, right? If it's under, Alan has. If it's under, then who has to sing? If it's under, me or him?
I'll let you guys figure this one out.
Alan.
I like the under. I'll still take the under.
Under 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's under 3, you have to do it. If it is 3, Ghost has to do it. And if it's over 3, then I'll do it, because it's probably going to be over 3, and I'll do it. But if the number is 8, 9, or 10, then we all have to sing. And then if it's over 5, let's do if it's over 5, we all have to do it.
I love it. All right, I'm so in. I can kind of hear the verse. It's like yippee-yi-yo, right? That's in there somewhere.
That is in there somewhere. I feel like you want to lose. I feel like you want to sing. I think that's what we're kind of getting at.
I think that's kind of how it wants to go now.
If it happens, it happens. Since I'm a man of many talents, you will find out.
All right, I'm in.
All right, that's the amazing one. If you are subscribed already and you stuck around this long, thank you so much. Spread the word of what the bet is over in the Discord. I'll be in there right now, hyping it up. Again, you can get 10% off of subscription using the code IEDGE. Always want to thank Alan and Michael for joining me. You can find them on Twitter at League of Items and at LCS Picks. Is it still, Alan? Or did you
No,
rebrand it?
I rebranded to Heffelda with two A's, so HEFFELDAA.
Sound good. And you can find me at still at GhostRider90. Thanks again for watching. Let's go make some money.
Let's do it.
This is horrible. One of us is gonna have to sing tomorrow.